Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to Naughty or Nice with Miss Cassie. Tonight, my very special guest is Lucas.
Hello,
Welcome,
hello.
Lucas.
Hello, hello. Hello, everyone.
We're glad to have you on the show.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. As I was bragging in the advertisements, you are this fantastic photographer, and
ah.
it was such a pleasure to meet you a couple weeks ago and watch you work. And I have to tell you, you really impressed the hell out of me.
Well, you impressed me too. And just for your audience, how me and Miss Cassie met, I was putting together, I came up with a concept that I wanted to do for a spec photo shoot. That is to say, a photo shoot that's kind of really for me and that I would submit to magazines later on. And it involved a little bit of rope tying. And I'm not really in the fat world, so I really didn't know where to start. I'm like, well, how do I get someone who knows what they're doing? And literally, I did a Google search, rope tying instructor, Southern California, and Miss Cassie came up as my #1 search result. So I was like, well, she must be good. And I emailed her, and a couple weeks later, she was on my set doing some fantastic stuff. So thank you.
Oh, God, you're more than welcome. It was my pleasure. I had such a good time.
Yeah, fun times.
Yeah, well, you know, Mel and I have been looking at your work, and it's just beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
How long have you been doing photography?
I've been doing photography going on a little over 4.5 years. I started in May of 2000. I can't do math right. I did started in May of 2010. So yeah, 4.5 years, something like that. Yeah. So and I'm completely self-taught. I went to what I like to say is the University of YouTube, which means basically I just go in and I type in the search, how do I get a blurry background? How do I freeze action? How do I do an overexpose? How do I underexpose? And if you do that, you'll get like 12 to 20 videos ranging from very professional down to like some 12-year-old kid who's going to be a better photographer than I ever will be, who just kind of teaches you that for free. So knowledge in 2014, knowledge is free. So after about a couple months of kind of teaching myself that and reading a few books, I got a camera, a very modest camera, and I started. I just started. I just decided to do it one day. So that's how I got started.
That is amazing. Did you study anything in school that related to photography, or this was just a passion of yours that developed into something wonderful?
Not at all, actually. I went to school for something completely different, and photography had always been like it was the art medium that I kind of gravitated towards, whereas some kids in their formative years get really into music, or some kids really get into dance or to sports, or like photography was my thing, but only as a consumer, only as an admirer, only as an audience member. Specifically, this was kind of circa the early 90s. Well, all of 90s, we'll say. And so the photographers of the time were really the prolific ones, the ones that were working the most, and still are, by the way. Bruce Weber, Peter Lindbergh, Herb Ritts, Richard Avedon, guys who are the vanguards, guys who are the trailblazers, guys who basically invented fashion portrait photography. These are kind of my early influences. And so whereas some people would collect art, or collect albums. I would actually collect photography books, meaning a photographer's body of work, like Bruce Weber's work, 1970 to 1984, something like that. But it always had been as an audience member. And in 2014, I turned 20. Yeah, we'll say 20. Definitely definitely not any older than that. No, I'm kidding. But I turned 30 in 2014, and I was just kind of like, having been a consummate fan, do I ever really want to try this? And it was kind of like, well, if I'm going to try it, I need to do it now before I get any older. So it was kind of do or die. And 4.5 years later, I've made a little bit of a name for myself in a very, very small town that is Los Angeles when compared to like the world of fashion and globally. But hopefully, put more years in and hopefully be a little bit further in a couple of years. or decades,
Well,
honestly.
I think you've come an amazing way in such a short time.
Thank you so much.
You know, I mean, what was your secret? Networking, apprenticing? I mean, you know, I'm sure that you took certain, you know, steps along the way to help make this happen for yourself.
Yeah, I think the most valuable thing was, as you actually hit it already, apprenticing, and that, you know, if you consider art a trade craft, you know, well, if you're a plumber, you are apprenticed to like a senior plumber. If you're gosh, I'm blanking on examples, but you know, put it this way, Luke Skywalker was the apprentice to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, you know, like I think apprenticing is something that's overlooked, or if not overlooked, undervalued, because people look to a formal education such as photography school or film school or art school or whatever.
Yeah, there's a tech school for just about everything these days, isn't there?
And that's fine, and I'm not discouraging anyone from pursuing that, but I will say that apprenticing or assisting, as I did, you get direct hands-on, like 12 hours a day, couple days a week. You know, you get one-on-one tutoring, basically. You're helping, you know, the other, in my case, I was helping another photographer, you know, for the interim. But that to me was a little bit more, in fact, a lot more valuable than at least at the time, than a formal education. And it's actually a lot cheaper too. Photography school is definitely that's not for everyone.
No.
So not for all income brackets, put it that way. But yeah, I mean, hands-on experience under someone who knows more than you. That's how you learn, really. That's how you really.
Absolutely. I did the same thing with rope. I you know, basically was a class assistant for 3 years in these rope classes, and you know, saw what worked with people and didn't work, and the ties that people want to know most. And
yeah, of course.
It really helped me formulate my classes, not only, and inspired my rope artist to bring me where I am today.
Very cool. And I think that you learned more from working with someone one-on-one versus just watching a video or reading it in a book. Like having someone there saying, no, that's not how you do it this way. Or you can do it this way, but it's really better if you do it this, you know what I mean? Like,
well, it gave me the knowledge to know which, you know, references to use. You know, there's a lot of material out there. And so, you know, it gave me the knowledge to know what is a good book to look at, or a good video to learn from.
Exactly.
And to make a decision. And, you know, I learned a lot on YouTube myself. There are many videos on YouTube that I actually recommend to my rope students. I mean, it's an amazing resource. You know, you can learn just about anything on YouTube these days.
Yeah, I know. And it's like basically a free college, you know, so you just have to wade through kind of the lesser good videos. Lesser good. That's an actual phrase. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, yeah. So anyway.
Mel wants me to ask you how you shot your work.
Right now, I shoot with Canon 5D Mark III, which is a professional grade DSLR, and I've got a kind of a list of lenses that I own and use as well. I also shoot film, Polaroid, and I'm about to get into medium format film, which are those big, expensive-looking cameras that look like huge squares that sit at your waist level, and photographers look down through a viewfinder to take the pictures.
Wow.
So that's and it's a very expensive, because the film is like 3 times the cost of normal film, and that includes also 3 times the cost of developing and scanning. So it's a big pain in the ass.
Wow.
But with the digital is so great, but it just can't replace film right now. At least right now, the technology still can't match film as far as dynamic range and the richness of colors.
I agree with you. Now we're looking at these pictures that are scrolling by, and there are a lot of group shots and everything. What was the inspiration behind these?
I mean, these group shots specifically that you're seeing on my screen, this is Bruce Weber 101. Like Bruce Weber, I think perhaps, I mean, he's a legendary photographer, fashion photographer. has career going on 40 years, but people might recognize his commercial work most commonly with the brand Abercrombie and Fitch. He's been Abercrombie's house photographer for over 20 years now. So everything, all ads, all catalogs, all signage, ads, billboards, they've all been shot by Bruce Weber.
Oh yeah, course, those ads are to die for.
Yeah. Those ads make me feel really bad about never going to the gym, as do these models right here, as you can see. These lovely young men who are half my age and in better shape than I've ever been.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's their job. That's their job, though. So yeah, I mean, again, like people ask me all the time, like, where do you draw who inspires you? Where do you draw your influences from? And I say, and I would say this to any art form, would be, look at the masters. Look at the masters of your craft, whatever that might be. Look at them. Look at their work. They kind of knew what they were doing. So I'm not saying, rip them off directly, but, they kind of knew what works. And so take that and make it your own.
Well, yeah, any great painter started out, painting, famous paintings and seeing what they could do with it, and which are at least taking techniques from it and everything. A friend of mine who's an artist did this incredible pastel painting for her family room, and she took her inspiration from Van Gogh, and the colors and everything that just pop, it is just really amazing.
Yeah.
But that's what inspired her to do that particular art piece.
Exactly. Like, and don't feel that, to any artist out there, and I use artist in a very broad sense, not just photography, don't feel you're being derivative. Don't feel that you're ripping someone else's work off. It's all, everyone kind of rips everyone off. You know what I mean? Like just, the important part is making it your own. The important part is taking a bunch of different influences and making it your own. My favorite quote, and it kind of applies to life in general, is by an author named Chuck Palahniuk. He's most famous for writing Fight Club, the book. and in one of his novels called Invisible Monsters, there's a quote that will forever be with me, and it says, "Nothing about me is original.
Oh, you're fading out, Lucas. Could you repeat that?
The sum total of everyone I've... Oh, sure thing. The sum total of everyone I have ever met." And so, yeah. And so what I take that quote to mean is that, who you're shaped to be, who you end up being, and who shapes you are in infinite influences, your parents, your friends through different stages in life, TV, media, like everything. And so I apply that as an artist as well. Like, sure, you can see hints of Bruce Weber or Herb Ritts or Peter Lindbergh in my work, but my work's also very much my own. At least I hope it is. Like, so for all artists out there, don't worry about copying someone else. Just copy it and then make it your own and do it your own way. So. Sorry, did that make sense? I kind of babbled there.
It totally makes sense to me. We all have our inspirations and our influences. I mean, when you were talking about in the early 90s, those photographers that, spoke to something in your soul, I mean, that spark is what we're all seeking. And, some of us, we come up with beautiful ideas right out of the blue, but most of us are inspired by, the smell of a rose, or, a picture in a magazine, or that cloud, just did something, and, we seldom have something that appears just out of thin air. There are those people that have that magic.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, everyone well, here's a real, I'm glad you said that, because, like, Michael Jordan has natural talent. Or for you young kids listening, Kobe Bryant has natural talent. No doubt about that. I don't know if kids know who Michael Jordan is nowadays.
I know.
God, getting old.
Oh, you're just a kid.
Real quick, I was shooting this model, and she was definitely younger. And when I was shooting, my Spotify was playing, and then November Rain came on. November Rain being, just a seminal song in rock and roll.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I love this song. I love Guns N' Roses. I haven't heard this song forever. And she just looked at me as if I stepped out of an alien ship, and she said, oh, Guns N' Roses, isn't that like that old band from the 80s? And I'm like, oh my God, they are the old band from the 80s. Like, holy crap, like, how did this happen? I'm sorry, I got off track there. What was I saying? I don't know. I forgot. I had a point, but it was, it was going to be great, put it that way.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I think we were just kind of talking about, how references change and everything.
Right, yeah,
and
of course. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right.
So, wait, what were we talking about? Sorry, what were we talking about?
You got really thrown off by her telling me that you're an old guy.
I was so incensed. I'm like, you young kid, you don't even know who Guns N' Roses is? I'm like, well, why should I be upset? I don't know, whatever. Anyway.
I mean, there was a time where everybody in the world knew who they were.
Yeah.
And then we forget kids that were born after that. They're clueless. That's unless it was something that was behind some kiddie show. Chances are it's not familiar to them.
You know what? Well, you know what makes me mad the most, and we'll get back on photography in 2 seconds. What makes me the most upset is my great-grandchildren are totally going to take flying cars for granted. They're just going to be like, what, my flying car? What's the big deal? I'll be like, assuming I'm still alive, I'll be like, it's a miracle. It's a car that flies. It was only in the picture shows when I was your age, see? I don't know why I talk like the 1920s when I'm, in the future. But anyway, so young kids, I've had enough of them. I'm kidding. Anyway, let's get back on topic. Don't let my grapple with mortality derail the show. So
yeah, no worries. It's all part of it though, because it's the young, beautiful people that most photographers seek out to get in front of their lens and bring out that innocence, that emotion, that passion that only comes with youth.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of pushback, I think, in the kind of just like society that, especially the fashion industry, which seems to really drive what is viewed and accepted as beautiful. It catches a lot of flack, and almost rightly so. And I, when I choose the kind of models that I like to shoot, I can't say that I strive or even want to strive too far from that. But this kind of is what it is, and what I will always say though to new models, and I do end up shooting a lot of new models, is never really take it too seriously. Modeling, don't change your body or your health just to make someone else happy. It really isn't worth it.
No, it's not in the long run. It takes a toll on your health, and maybe it's just a matter of picking what
modeling
type of modeling is right for your body type. I mean, there's lots of options out there.
Correct. Yeah, like everyone, like when people come to New York or Paris and going on the runway or being in like very high fashion editorials in V magazine or Vogue. And that's simply, I mean, that's just one small aspect to it. Quite honestly, lifestyle models that appear in kind of more commercial-driven ads, like something you'd see in a Sunday flyer for Target or Kohl's or these big kind of department stores, that's actually the most profitable aspect of modeling. It's not the most glamorous because models are generally a little softer looking, not as like weird and alien looking like some of the, like I said, New York runways are gonna produce. It's not as exciting or glamorous, but man, because corporations are behind them, and corporate pays really, really good. And so I always say, like, don't have dreams of runways in your eyes and magazine editorials. They don't pay a fraction of what lifestyle modeling does. And again, lifestyle modeling is something you'd see. Any billboard you'd see in the mall, any ad you see for a major department store, that's commercial modeling.
Yeah, so, catalogs.
Yeah. So.
And that's definitely what's needed most because they're out there to sell product. Though I mean, it is wonderful to look at those glamour magazines and those beautiful, beautiful photos. But the clothes that you see on those models are kind of out of the price range of your average middle class family.
Yeah, I would say anybody. Like, and by the way, like some of these things, it's Fashion Week in New York right now here, and some of these things that are being being kind of debuted. It's like that's really cool as an art piece. No one would ever wear three-fourths of what I'm seeing right now. You know what I mean? And it's not to say they're ugly clothes. They're just like you're not gonna go to like Target in like 7-inch stilettos and like a bodysuit with a collar that looks like a Victorian Queen's collar. Like, I mean, it looks cool for a photo, but it's not really practical. So
No, it's not practical
anyway.
at all, though. You might occasionally see something like that at a club.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go to those clubs.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Anyway.
my goodness. Um, well, what are you currently into? I mean, where's the focus of your photography today?
I'm actually taking a little bit of a break. What we shot together, Miss Cassie, was kind of my swan song for like a little while. I've been shooting a lot, almost too much, and getting slightly burnt out. And so I'm kind of want to let's take a break and recharge my batteries a bit, and kind of get away from kind of one-off testing, which is what you're mainly seeing on my blog, which is what I'm scrolling through on now. Scrolling through right now. I want to kind of plan bigger concepts and execute a little bit more high production value shoots. I want to produce a shoot that is quality, not quantity. I want to produce 6 good pictures instead of 16 good pictures. And for that, I mean, you have to do a lot of planning for that. And also, I've got to go teach myself studio lighting. I have a very basic grasp on studio lighting, and so like I need to go and kind of I'll probably actually assist another photographer, a senior, someone my senior, and kind of work for him for a while or whomever that may be. I don't know who it is yet.
No, but you'll find that
Yeah,
person, and
yeah.
lighting is so important, and it can
Oh,
really take things in a different direction.
lighting is everything.
Yes.
Like yeah, like a lot of people get, and just if I may go off on go off on a point, a lot of people they put the cart before the horse when it comes to my industry, that is to say photography. They put a lot of emphasis on gear, expensive lenses, locations, styling, and that's all very important, don't get me wrong. Gear probably the least important of everything, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but really your understanding and grasp of lighting, or at least lighting that you would like to execute, that is far and away the most important thing about photography. Photography is literally lighting. It's your camera. It was film in the old days, and now it's an electronic sensor. It is literally capturing light, and it's how you shape that light that kind of shows your skill. Not the only thing, but it's a very important thing that kind of gets parked down a little bit on the ladder when it should be right here. Like your voice as a photographer and an artist and your understanding of lighting, that it should be like this, and then everything else is down here.
Well, yeah,
So,
you can do amazing things with light. I mean, light can make even, that little pocket Instamatic. If you understand lighting, you
yeah.
can get some beautiful photos out of that.
Oh, dude, like in my bathroom back home, my bathroom is lit amazingly. Like, because I want to walk in the mirror, I want the mirror to lie to me. I want to, and it's basically, I don't want to know the truth. I just want to. So I lit it. I lit it very nice and even, and it looks great in there. And so I like spending time looking at myself in the mirror. I don't know what my point was with that, but I'm saying that lighting can make everyone. The right lighting can make anyone look great. Great, of course, is great being subjective, but
No, but it really does make
it
a
really
difference.
does. Let's be honest. Good lighting makes it.
A dressing room with really good lighting, everything looks fabulous on you, but you go to a department store, it's got fluorescent lights, every outfit you try on shows every flaw. It's like, that doesn't make me want to buy clothes.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it's like, lie to me a little bit, put good lighting in there, make me think of it fantastic.
Yeah. Anyway, so So what else? What else you want to talk about today?
Well, what kind of information do you want to get people out there? What should they be checking out about you? You know, your Tumblr's been awesome. Are there any websites or anything that they can look at, or what information
Uh,
do you want to be out there right now?
Sure. Like I think my Tumblr or my blog, in other words, is probably where you're going to find my most recent test shoots. My Tumblr isn't. My website's basically the storefront. My kind of better work is on there. What my Tumblr is kind of the B-sides, the B-roll, stuff I just kind of do for myself, and that's all that you've been looking at today so far. I answer a lot of questions on my Tumblr. A lot of people write in with, covering the whole gambit, or gamut, I should say. From, hey, what kind of lens did you use for this shot? To how do I get started in photography, or how do I direct models? And I kind of take my time and I answer all of them. I answer anyone who honestly writes a real question into me. I get some trolls and I get some spam. But if you honestly have a true question about photography, and it can be anything from technical to philosophical, I'm happy to answer for it. So it's kind of morphed into like a quasi teaching platform, or at least informational platform. And then again, it just kind of also shows kind of what I'm working on that day, or whatever. So that's probably like the most important place, or most updated place from day to day. You'll find my stuff, but my website also will be a little bit more formal, and then Instagram, you can catch up with me on Instagram as well, and that's kind of the new hot thing all the kids are into, I found.
Yeah.
So, the Instagram. They're like Facebook is so like 2008, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, you were in 4th grade in 2008, you little crap. I'm kidding. I love kids. They're amazing. It's just me getting old. Anyway, so yeah. That's
Yeah. Every time you bring the Tumblr up, we get a weird sound on the audio here.
Oh no. Is it distracting? Should I? No, I don't know what that is. Should I stop it?
Yeah, I think you should stop it, because
All right.
we always lose a little bit of the audio every time you switch it on.
All right then.
So we've really been enjoying those photos. Oh, let me see. We have a question, or is that a statement, comment, or a question? From Ashley Rain. She says, shoot short, I guess it's a comment. Shoot short girls from the floor or above. Every photographer insists on shooting me from below because I'm short and it never goes well.
My answer to that would be shoot you straight on. Let's back up. It depends how you want to be portrayed. Is this a portrait? Is this fashion? Is this boudoir, or a little sexier? If it's the latter, if it's a little sexier, you should actually be I wouldn't necessarily be always standing. There's a number of great poses, reclining poses. I mean, if you just look at the classic art, how the Renaissance really painted women, there's also an amazing artist named George Klimt, Klimpt, who does a lot of great line work and women in different poses that would really work for that kind of photography. If it's fashion, the photographer should actually be shooting you more straight on and wider, and not so close up. And he wants to shoot you wide, so then the photographer would then crop in and kind of frame you there, and that way you won't look too short. If he's trying to shoot you from above or below to hide your height, that's not kind of really how you go about
I think
doing
this is more an issue of, making the woman look longer and leaner, and so they don't look short and squat in the photo. And usually,
Right.
I know a lot of these photos are emphasizing the long, luscious legs, the long, lean body lines.
Sure, and to that I would say I wouldn't try to. I mean, if she's short, Ashley, right? If she's short, embrace the shortness. Short girls are hot too. Short girls can be models too, and you don't need to do a lot of cheats. Like own what you are and what you look like, and shoot your strengths versus trying to hide your height. Because if you're 5'2", shooting you from below is not going to make you look 5'10". It's just kind of. I wouldn't shoot anybody in fashion from below, like at a low angle. It's a very unflattering angle for fashion. It's a great angle in movies to make bad guys look really like powerful and evil, but not really in fashion most of the time. That's not a hard rule, but I would say most of the time, don't shoot from below if you're doing like kind of fashion or beauty. Anyway.
Oh, let's see. It says, Lucas, tell me your photos are very good, and are oh, they want to know if most of them are done with natural light or life.
Natural light, yeah. Answer is yes. 99%. I think my Tumblr name it's underneath my name right there in the credits. So I know I was trying to show you guys sharing the screen and showing you some photos live. But if anyone is watching, just pop on over to my Tumblr and you can look at the photos there. I would say that 90% of everything you see on my blog for the last couple months is natural light, and if it's not, it's one studio light, or it's natural light plus a reflector. But really, 90% of everything is natural light. And how I do that is I choose what time of day to shoot. Usually when I shoot, it's about 4 p.m. to sunset.
Oh yes, I've worked with a lot of photographers that like specific times of day to get the light that they want. They also said that your photos have a 1960s flair to them and that they really like your work.
Oh, great! I love that. Thank you so much. I don't like technology is almost too good, and some DSLRs, even the camera I own. The raw photos can end up looking very, very clean, very sharp, very sterile, and that's great for some photographers who like that look. I personally like, I grew up, again, pre-digital because I'm super old. The subtext running through this interview is like Luke is grappling with his aging, but we won't get into that. My main influences were all pre-digital. My main influences were on film, and that's kind of always I'm just kind of trying to recreate that first impression I had with photography and why I fell in love with it. So thank you very much.
I totally get it. I had a passion for film before we went digital. And I loved being able to manipulate the camera and get different things. My favorite thing to shoot was light and shadow, and I like to work with a grainy black and white about 200 speed. Yeah. And the things I could do with that and play with it. And then growing up, my mom was an artist, and I remember she was taking this class, and they were doing etchings with the negatives, and she turned our bathroom into this giant dark room, and all the different techniques she did to develop the film and etch it onto the metal, and I mean, it was just absolutely beautiful and profound, and you just don't see that kind of thing anymore.
No, it's a whole. I mean, shooting film is an art form, and then developing it the right way and processing it to certain specifications, and then printing it. Printing itself is a whole other art form. I don't even want to touch that. I have a printer who does all my work. I can't even begin to understand the nuances and subtleties that go into that can make such a huge difference between a good print and a bad print. But we won't get into that kind of boring stuff. But all this to say is, one thing I found about shooting film is it's very forgiving on someone's skin, just inherently, because it is so rich with dynamic range and latitude. But also, when you shoot film, you don't do a lot of Photoshop, because you kind of, if it's developed correctly and processed correctly, your work's kind of done. You know what I mean? Like the coloring is all there. Like the film is inherently or naturally kind of more soft on the skin anyway. And so there's a little, when you shoot film, there's a little Photoshop that you have to do. But the drawback is it's expensive as hell. It's time consuming. It's not instant. You can't shoot and then immediately edit it and see it. And so hopefully there'll always be a niche for it. But
well, I think just like people went back to vinyl. There'll always be they realize the quality of the old art. and that, you know, even with all this newfound digital technology that we have, that something was lost in the translation.
Yep, yep. Being faster and more efficient doesn't always equal quality, and I'm not saying to shun digital. In fact, I mean, most of my work is digital, but you know, don't forget where it all started. So.
Yeah, we
Anyway.
have another question from the chat room, Lucas. Ashley Rains would like to know, what would you recommend I look for when choosing a photographer?
Honestly, photographer's work, you're either going to connect with it or you won't. And don't choose someone just because he's the cheapest or he's the closest to you, or you have to, or you know, you don't have to drive as far to get to him. It's the same reason I fell in love with Bruce Weber's work or Peter Lindbergh's work or Herb Britt's work. I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's how I would want to photograph somebody. Or, you know, I'm not a model, but if I were a model, I would look at a photographer's work and say, oh, that's how I would like to be shot. Versus seeing a good photographer's work, but you see his stuff and there's no real emotional connection there. So, you know, I would go with your gut reaction, absolutely. And, you know, cheap price too, but.
There's another question for you in the chat room. This one's from
Sure.
Melody. She wants to know, have you ever done wedding photos?
Yep, sure thing. I done 2 weddings right when I started out, thinking I could make some good money, and it was good money, and I'll never do weddings ever again. They by far. And by the way, overall, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't like wedding photography. It's a complete different art form that's underappreciated and undervalued in my industry. But it was so much work, and there's so much pressure to make sure you get the kiss or the exchange of rings, and you know, when they're walking down the aisle, you've got to be running and like you make sure it's not blurry. It was stressing me the F out that I don't get that kind of stress. I don't get when I'm shooting like a fashion shoot. It's like being on live TV. Like it's like performing on live TV. Like anything could go wrong and you can't take it back. So yeah, it was just too much for me. But it does pay really well. So
well, yeah, and there are people where that is their talent. That is, you know, they thrive in that environment.
For sure. Yeah, that is not me at all. But I do like some of my favorite photographers are actually our wedding photographers. But wedding photography can be a way to supplement bigger dreams. Let's say you want to be a fashion photographer or a landscape photographer. Immediately, neither of those are going to pay the bills tomorrow. But wedding photography, high school senior portrait photography, baby photography, family photography, oh my gosh, just charge, you start printing money, because people still want a professional to capture those kinds of images, those life moments. So even though everyone has a digital camera nowadays on their phone at the very least, for those seminal times, you can really make some great money that can supplement bigger dreams. But if you just want to stay a wedding photographer or portrait photographer, or senior portrait photographer, awesome. If that's kind of how you express yourself and that's what you like to do, then you're going to have an easier time making the transition into professional photography versus chasing a little bit harder genres to breach, which would be sports, fashion, landscapes, fine art. You know, those are the kinds of stuff that you can't quit your day job quite yet.
So if I'm hearing you rightly, you're kind of saying, you know, when you pursue this, you know, you kind of need to have a little bit of a plan. You know, figure out if you know, if you're only stuck on a certain type of photography, like say fashion, you know, think about what, you know, how are you going to get there? You know, how are you going to pay the bills until you finally find the networking option or this, or work your way into, you know, getting that big break? What advice would you give to, you know, up and coming photographers as far as like, you know, chasing that dream?
Well, first of all, we'll start at the very beginning, which is, this is going to sound a little corny and a little like kind of motivational speakery, and I don't mean to come off like that, but it nonetheless holds true, which is you can absolutely do it. Whatever it is, if it's well, I can't promise anyone can be an NBA player, but there's probably a height requirement. I don't think Ashley would make the WNBA. She said she's short, but she's got spirit.
Yes, she does.
I would say that more or less anything in the arts, you can probably do it. Now I'm going to put a big parenthetical there that says, or an asterisk that says, I can't promise you you're going to be rich or make any money from it. I can't promise you you're going to be famous or recognized, or your work's going to be in galleries, or you'll perform on Broadway, or you'll have a multinational hit, music album. But as far as the arts go, the only thing that's stopping you from starting is your own self-doubt. And I'll say that as someone who doubted himself for 10 years before he ever picked up a camera. When I fell in with Bruce Weber's work, or Peter Lindbergh's work, or Herb Ritt's work as an audience, as a consumer, photography seemed to me something, I don't know how those guys did it, but that's it, and that's what artists do. That's what other people do. That I can't do that. I need to go to college, and I need to get a normal job and track, because that most of, at least America, has the mindset and kind of built into you. And so I did just that. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that, but I wanted something a little bit more. And at first I did just that. I went to college and I got a normal job, but there was this itch inside of me, this burning inside of me to try to not be something more, because I was very happy with myself, but just be something more and different for my own self.
Well, you wanted to follow your bliss, and many of us have that, but many people lack the courage to actually pursue that.
Yeah.
I left the corporate world 16 years ago and became a massage therapist. And, and I've been rich and I've been poor, but I have to tell you, it was one of the best decisions I ever made, because I was no longer miserable going to work.
Yeah. Let me put it to you this way. Like, I drive right now, and I'm going to go back and start from the beginning and kind of tell people at least the path and mindset I took. But real quick, just so your audience knows, like, I'm not like a rich photographer. I'm not shooting supermodels. I'm not shooting top designers. I drive a very modest sedan. I live in a nice place, but it's not Bel Air. And sometimes some months are leaner than others. And I shop at Trader Joe's instead of Whole Foods for that month. And would I like a little bit more stability? Sure. Would I like a nicer car? Sure. But all that kind of stuff, it's just, I am fine. Like, I'm healthy, and I'm doing what I love. And I'll be honest with you, and it's going to make me sound slightly douchey, and I don't mean to. But a lot of my friends who kind of followed the collegiate path, who have gone on to become, corporate workers, lawyers, bank managers, stock options traders, they have their own lives, and they've done really, really well. They're all my age now. They're all in their mid-30s, and by this time they've done very, very well for themselves. They're very, very comfortable. But when we get together sometimes, some of them, they'll never in front of the whole group, but they'll kind of take me aside, and thinking they're the only ones doing it, and they say, "Luke, I'm really proud of you. You actually did it." And I can't. Yeah, and I can't say that. It's not to say that they had dreams of being an artist or a dancer or whatever, but but they do still recognize, even though like I'm always the one that's like, can I charge this? When they're all paying cash, they kind of see that I went for it, and I'm not rich and I'm not famous, but I'm happy, and I get to go to work.
You're fulfilling a need. You're feeding your soul, which is amazing, and more people need to do that. There's a side of ourselves we need to honor, and you're doing it. You're pursuing the dream.
So just to let everyone know kind of how like it really was turning 30 that was kind of the trigger in me, and I really honestly, half of me wishes I would have done it sooner and had that kind of courage sooner, because maybe I would have been that much farther by now. But you can't think like that. That's just wasting time. So like what you need to think is, well, I need to do it now. Like anyone who wants to do something like what I'm doing, or anything in the arts, or whatever, if you want to open a restaurant, like whatever your dream is, you can do it, but it involves a couple of things that nothing's ever going to be handed to you. You're not going to be discovered. You're not just going to get a bunch of money and someone says, here, have some studio time, have the stage for a while, have this theater, for the month, and or whatever, have this fashion line that you can shoot. So you're going to have to work your way up. You're going to have to make sacrifices. That people don't want to change the MO of their lives when trying to pursue their dreams sometimes. They're like, well, this would mean that if I'm just going to use photography because it's what I do. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I have to go to work at Starbucks during the week, and my only free time is the weekends to shoot. Well, shit. Sorry, can I swear? Sorry. Shoot.
That's fine. Just don't take your shirt off.
Right.
You can take your shirt off.
Believe me, none of you.
No, Mel says take your shirt off.
You can take your shirt off. Women can't take their shirt off.
Mel, your audience members are great. I've not worked out in 5 years. No one wants to see me without my shirt.
Yeah,
So.
we do.
Anyway, I'm kidding. So it's like, I work all week. I only have time free, and you know what? I'm exhausted from working. I want to go out. I want to go to the bar. Okay, do that. But that's just going to be time you're not spending, working on your album or working on your photography or working on your dance moves. I don't know why I keep on coming back to dancing. I think I saw Step Up 3D 2 years ago, and I secretly loved that movie and secretly wanted to be a street dancer. But that's another conversation. But so it involves work, it involves sacrifice, and it involves patience. In America, we have this pervasive mindset that we need people who make it overnight and make it very suddenly. We have this growing kind of expectation of instant gratification. Well, I've been doing photography for a year and I haven't been discovered. Well, I'm giving up. Well, no, dude. I'm just going to keep on using the example of Bruce Weber. Bruce Weber was a great photographer in the 90s. He was an icon. He is at the absolute top of his game at 77 years old in the fashion industry. Last year, Bruce Weber had 13 covers of Vogue and over 70 issues where he had editorials. So, that's a dream job. But that took him a lifetime to
he's
accomplish.
77. I mean, that is not something that's probably going to happen in your 20s.
Yeah, exactly. That took look at anyone who's truly a master at their work. They're not 20. They're not 30. They might be good at 40 or 50,
yes.
But usually, when you think of masters, you think of anything. You think of old men, or old women, and that's because it takes a lifetime to acquire those skills. So know that a lot of things in the creative realms will take a lifetime to achieve the kind of level that you aspire to. So patience is another thing. So when you're ready to kind of accept all these things, time, work, sacrifice, then you're on your way to doing it. But there's no time like now. Do it now. Miss Cassie, I gave you this example in the pre-interview, and I'm just gonna, I know we're closing it on our time here, so I want to make sure to get it in.
Yes, please.
Which is here's an example, and I'm paraphrasing from an author named David Wong. So this is not my original idea, but I want to spread it. So if I told you, build a skyscraper. You build a skyscraper. You would be like, that's impossible. I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to build a skyscraper. That's the most ludicrous thing. Other people build skyscrapers. I can't do it. And
it's
that's fine.
An overwhelming task.
Yeah, that's fine. But now let's say I put a gun to your head. Sorry for the violent imagery, but to make my point. Let's say I put a gun to your head. Okay, well, let's take this a little bit more. So let's think about this. Okay, well, first off, I need to buy a book on how to build skyscrapers. Okay, educate myself. Secondly, I need to get some land because you need a place to build it. I should hire an architect because he knows how to design. I don't know how to design a building, but an architect would. Then I would need some supplies, and so on and so on. Suddenly, an insurmountable task becomes approachable when the right amount of pressure is applied. So whatever your dream is, again, it's not relegated to the arts. Again, you want to open a restaurant or you want to start your own fashion line or whatever. Put an invisible gun to your head and suddenly really think about it. Don't just be like, oh, it's just don't be overwhelmed by just the veneer of it all. Really think about it. So when I wanted to be a photographer, well, I'm going to need to educate myself. I'm going to need to buy a camera. I'm going to need to get to work. I got to start shooting and seeing what I'm doing wrong. My first, if you go on my blog, go all the way back to 2010, those photos are nothing like the photos I have now. I mean, literally, you can see my progress over 4 years.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
We have a few questions in the chat room, Lucas.
Sure, go.
One was, let me see, it was back here. Oh, Ashley had a comment here. She said most of the problems she's had with photographers is not that they aren't good photographers, but they are not good photoshoppers. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, that's a whole other art. So remember when we were talking about film, when I said shooting film is one art, developing and processing it is a completely another art form. That's the same, like photographers or photography and digital, same thing. Photoshop is the dark room now. And so if they're not good Photoshoppers, I mean, as a model, I would say find one who is. Like, I can't, unfortunately, the advice I can't give her could do anything that she could then tell a photographer to do better. You know what I mean? Like, I would definitely just try to, I mean, that's not helpful at all. And that is a problem. You know, some shooters have really good eye for composition, shoot the right kind of models, and but then in Photoshop, they hit that glossy, like skin smoothing filter that just makes everyone look like a Barbie doll, or that awful diffusion, or these like funky colors. Like, you know, I mean, photography is the most widespread hobby and aspire to industry in the world. Like, if you live in a major in and around a major metropolitan area, you'll find another photographer. So unfortunately, for a model, I can't really give good advice on how to make other photographers be better Photoshoppers. If she was a photographer, I could tell her something, give her a few pointers. But yeah, I feel your pain, Ashley. That sucks.
Yeah, and you know, I've met some people that were just so fantastic with Photoshop, and then I've worked with other photographer who's done just the thing that you said, made you look like a China doll, and I look at those pictures and I'm going, that's just not me. I
just don't understand. I mean, this is a tangent. I don't understand, like, guys who do that. Like, they're aspiring to be a certain type of photographer. They must have images they're looking at to draw inspiration. Do those images also have really bad skin softening filters on them? No. It's like, why do they think it looks okay? Sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. I don't mean to bad talk other photographers' processing. It's none of my business.
Well, no, and their vision. You know, everybody's got a vision of what they think is the perfect aesthetic, and you know, it's all subjective.
It is, and I'll definitely concede to that. So sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that.
No worries, Missy. We got a few comments here.
Sure.
Melody says he followed his dream. When you touch creativity, it changes who you are.
Yeah.
And then she mentions that I'm in my bliss when I'm creative.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're creative or kind of doing what you love and whatever that is, if it's working with animals or children or what, like, all of a sudden it's not really work anymore, and it kind of other things that you wanted in life, like a BMW or a yacht, those things don't seem as important anymore. I think that, at least in my experience, when I was working at a kind of a normal job that I didn't like, I thought I could fill and supplement my happiness with expensive things or objects, and that really just kind of gets you in credit card debt. And you realize that you're not that happy. What's really happy is something that's good for your soul. And if that's an art form, if that's a trade craft form, if that's children, if that's dogs, if that's another person, great. It's still so true. So.
Yeah. Let me see, we have a few more, as we were talking, you know, about experience and stuff, somebody made a comment, I'm a master because I'm old, laugh aloud.
Yeah, there you go. As soon as you turn a certain age, you're automatically a master, no matter what.
There you go, you got your 10,000 hours in, makes you an expert.
Yeah, at least you can look like a master. So the thing is, you could, like, for instance, I always wanted to surf, but I don't want to go in the ocean because it's gross, because whales, like, are in the ocean, it's disgusting. But what I really want more than surfing is just to, like, look like a surfer, to like be walking, like, out of the tide and, like, have the surfboard under my arm with, like, my bodysuit, like, halfway down. I'll be in better shape. And I'm like, oh, hey, the waves, I'm tired. But actually, it's kind of fake it. So if you're old, you can just be like, here's my camera, I'm a photographer. People be like, ooh, you must be good. So fake it till you make it. Anyway.
Well, here's another comment. I just have to say it because it's cute. Ashley goes, ha, 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 like the girl who said to me, you need an air supply. I said, no, honey, we were talking about the band.
Yeah, right. Air Supply. There's another good band. I don't even know what kids just listen to like noise nowadays, like electronic noise. I don't get it.
Well, you know,
Anyway.
it's just like our parents thought we were listening to noise. You know, I think it's just
Yeah,
you know,
but ours was still music. It was still music. It was still an instrument producing music. Now it's just like wah wah wah. It's like all made in. It's like electronic beats made in them. Okay, sorry, I'm derailing this interview yet again because of my cantankerous outlook on America's youth. Just kidding. I love it. I love everybody.
A lot of it is that kind of bang bang beat stuff,
Yeah.
and then you run across that occasional DJ that just knows how to do the mix right, and that is a symphony. You know, and what they think to blend together and everything. I mean, that is a true talent of somebody who understands music to that level to bring all these pieces in and make this magnificent piece.
Yeah, correct. Right on.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
Let me see.
oh, is there more?
Yeah, there's another comment. Let me see. Oh, Ashley says he's cute, and Melody says I
Ashley.
agree.
Hey, you too. I like you guys. Thank you.
Oh, and then Ashley says, I like my photographers to be ugly, ha ha ha. So I guess she won't be working with you, huh? You're too cute.
But, you know, I know. Thank you. I guess, though, like, kind of, I know we're coming up on our hour here, but I just want to reemphasize, like, anyone, I'm just going to talk about photography, but this really applies to anyone's dreams. Like, you can do it. You can. You just have to have the courage, and you have to make the decision, and just to say, and you got to do it now. You have to do it now, because, you know, time is going to be, you're going to be my age by the time you get the courage again. Or I'm just kidding. At any age, you can choose to trigger your dream, but you can do it. I swear to God, you can do it. Like, it's just the work and patience and sacrifice is what a lot of people aren't willing to really wrap their head around doing and changing about their life. And for that, you're going to miss out. Again, whatever dream you pursue, I'm going to say it again. I can't promise you'll be rich. I can't promise you'll be famous, but I can promise you will be happy. And so that ends my cheesy motivational speaking. So thank you for listening.
Oh no, that was some great stuff. I mean, you've been very inspirational, and your passion for photography truly comes across. And we have one last comment here before we start wrapping things up. And I think somebody's just teasing here, going, "Kink photos, is that in the future for you?"
I'm not entirely sure, though. If I have my way, I have many decades ahead of me to explore many different genres of photography. So perhaps.
Perhaps.
Well, we got to live our shoots together, Miss Cassie. That was kind of fun. That was a little. We got a little bondage in there, you know, mixed with fashion. Yeah. So once those photos are released, I'll make sure to send you a link so you can show your audience kind of what we did. It was good times.
Yes, it definitely was good times. You know, and that also kind of brings me to a subject we were talking about earlier today about, the genre of photography that people get into. Like, you know, there's a large number of photographers that seems to think they need to start out doing glamour nudes or doing shocking things involving what I would say is not artful nudity.
Right. Do they need to start out to do that? I want to do. Oh, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. If that's the kind of photography they want to do for the rest of their career, great. You know, that certainly is an art form, and there have been some really recognized photographers. Richard Kern comes to mind immediately. And it's Kern with a K. If your viewers want to look him up, you'll see that that's kind of right in line with that kind of genre. But you don't need to start doing that in order to get somewhere else. Think about what kind of photography you want to do and do that. You know, I will say though, explore. You know, when you're first starting out, I would say don't even limit yourself. I'm going to go back on my own advice there. Do a bunch. Do landscapes. Do portraits. Do families. You know, do some body work. Do some fashion, and really see what you like. You know, you know, see what you grasp to. But if you know, I want to do fashion photography right away. Like I already knew that's kind of what I wanted to do, so I pursued it that way. But I will say that with the kind of more that kind of genre, that kind of nude genre, the kind of little bit more explicit nude genre. If that's what your work is, a lot of your work is, you're going to find, just in my industry, you're going to find a hard time transitioning into more legitimate stuff because a lot of corporations drive commercial photography, and that genre and the commercial corporate realm don't really gel too well together. So,
yeah, because you know
I'd definitely be careful. Yeah.
Yeah, companies do have images that they need to uphold to the public, and you know, having somebody that comes from you know, the adult industry into taking family photos, well, that's not going to be a good PR thing at all.
Yeah. But you know, if taking kind of more photos geared in more the kind of adults and you know, kind of realm. If that's all you want to do, then have at it. You know, there's definitely a market for it. There's definitely money to be made. But if I would be careful. Like if you want to do something else.
Absolutely. So. You know, think about where you want to take it in the future. Well, this has been a wonderful show, Lucas. I want to thank you so much.
Sure.
You've been such a fantastic guest, and I've really enjoyed meeting you and having a chance to talk with you about all this. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. You've been great. And my guest for next week is going to be Grand Mistress Carla. She's got a new book out that seems quite intriguing. So I hope that you're all going to join us next week. And anybody that is still in the chat room, do you think Lucas is naughty or nice?
Naughty or nice. Hot. Cute. Too bad he's married.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Oh, you've been terrific, Lucas. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Miss Cassie.
You're welcome. Good night, everybody.